My name is Danielle. I'm 29. I live outside Portland, Oregon, and solo camping is something I've done since my early 20s. I want to be really clear about that because I know how this story is going to sound, and I need you to understand who's telling it. I've done over 30 solo overnight trips. I've camped alone in conditions that would send most people home, below zero nights, storms that collapsed lesser tents, trails where I genuinely didn't see another human being for 3 full days. I carry bear spray, a satellite communicator, a fixed blade knife, and I know how to use all of it. I am not someone who panics in the woods. I am not someone who imagines things. What happened to me last August is the reason I now own a firearm and carry it every single trip. Make of that what you will. I'd been planning this trip for 2 months. 5 days solo in the Willamette National Forest, deep backcountry, a loop I'd partially done before, but never completed. I started on a Tuesday to avoid weekend crowds. By Thursday, I was fully in my rhythm. Miles feeling easy, food tasting incredible, the way it always does when you've earned it, sleeping hard every night. Thursday camp was near a small creek, maybe 100 feet off the trail. I'd scouted the spot the previous year and had been looking forward to it. Good tree cover, flat ground, the sound of moving water. I set up my tent, filtered water, made dinner, wrote in my journal for an hour. Completely ordinary. The forest felt peaceful and right. The weather turned cold and rainy around 8 p.m., and I was inside my tent by 9:30. Read for a while on my headlamp, finished the last of my hot cocoa, turned off the light around 10. I remember feeling genuinely content, present. That specific peace you only get when you're deep in the backcountry and completely alone. I don't know what time it was when I woke up. I hadn't checked before going to sleep and my phone was in my pack. What I know is that it was deep night, that 3 a.m. quality of darkness where even the air feels thick and still. The rain had stopped. The creek sounded loud in the quiet. And then, 3 knocks on my tent. Not a branch, not an animal, not the rain starting again. 3 deliberate knocks, knuckles on nylon, evenly spaced, like someone at a front door. Every system in my body shut off except the ones that mattered. I stopped breathing. I didn't move a single muscle. My hand found my knife in the dark and I held it. Silence for maybe 30 seconds. Then a voice, male, calm. The kind of calm that doesn't match the situation, which is somehow worse than if he'd sounded desperate. Hey. Sorry to bother you. I know it's late. Do you have a phone I could borrow? I got turned around out here and I'm trying to find my way back to the trailhead. Everything about it was designed to sound reasonable, apologetic even. In daylight on a trail, that would be a normal interaction. Out there, at that hour, 6 miles from any trailhead, in the rain, no. Nobody ends up there by accident at 3 a.m. At 3 a.m. I did not respond. I did not move. I controlled my breathing and I waited. Another pause. Longer this time. Then quieter. I can see your breath coming through the tent fabric. I know you're in there. My blood went cold in a way I have never felt before or since. That line was not an attempt to get help. That was a message. He was telling me he'd been standing there long enough to notice my breath in the cold air. He was telling me he was close enough to see it. He was telling me he knew exactly what was inside that tent. I said nothing. I did not move. I don't know how long I lay there in the dark. It felt like hours. I heard nothing after that. No footsteps, no movement, no voice. But I also heard nothing walking away. No branches, no leaves, no sound of someone leaving. Just silence. When the first gray light started coming through the tent fabric, I had my pack ready. I hadn't slept. I hadn't moved much. I got dressed inside the tent, put my boots on inside the tent, held my knife in my right hand, and unzipped the door with my left. Nobody there. I checked the perimeter of my campsite in the early light, looking at the soft ground for tracks. on the side of the tent where I'd heard the voice, deep boot prints in the mud, large, close to the tent, maybe 2 feet from the nylon. He had been right there. The prints came from the direction of the creek. They did not go back that way. I tracked them as far as the tree line on the opposite side of my camp, and then they stopped. Not like someone had jumped or changed direction. They just stopped, mid-stride, like he had ceased to exist. I hiked out 7 miles without stopping. I didn't take breaks. I didn't eat. I moved as fast as I could until I hit the trailhead and could see my car. I found a ranger station 20 minutes down the road, told them everything. The ranger I spoke to asked which trail, which camp zone. When I told him, he didn't look surprised. He wrote something in a logbook, an actual paper logbook, and said they'd send someone to look. He did not ask me if I wanted to file a formal report. He did not ask for my contact information. He didn't tell me everything would be fine or that there was probably a simple explanation. He just thanked me for reporting it and told me to drive safe. I've thought about what he wrote in that logbook, whether my name is in there, whether the person who knocked on my tent is in there too, not as a suspect, but as a known thing, a documented pattern, something rangers in that district have been quietly tracking for years. I'll never know, but I think about that logbook a lot. My name is Greg. I'm 31, from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and this happened to me and 4 of my closest friends during what started as the best camping trip we'd ever taken. I've gone back and forth about sharing this for 2 years. I'm sharing it now because last month, one of the guys in our group, my friend Kevin, told me he's been having nightmares about it regularly. If he's still doing that to him after 2 years, I think it deserves to be documented somewhere. There were 5 of us. Me, Kevin, Marcus, Drew, and Ryan. We do an annual camping trip, a real one, backcountry, no car camping, actual miles. This particular year we picked Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, 4th of July weekend. We'd gotten a backcountry permit for a site about 6 miles in, right along the Lake Superior shoreline. Dramatic cliffs, blue water, complete privacy. We were pumped. We hiked in Thursday afternoon, got set up while it was still light, and that first night was genuinely one of the best nights I can remember. Perfect weather, incredible views, great fire, everyone in a good mood. We were out there until almost 2 in the morning just talking. It felt untouchable that night. Like we'd found a pocket of the world that was purely ours. Friday was more of the same. Long hike to the colored rock formations, swam in the lake despite the cold. Lake Superior in July is still absolutely brutal. Ate well, got the fire going again by 7. Music off someone's Bluetooth speaker. Beers, stars coming out. We were at peak trip. It was around 11 p.m. when it happened.
No sound of footsteps leading up to it, no flashlight beam coming through the trees, no warning at all. A man just walked out of the tree line and into our camp. He wasn't running. He wasn't stumbling. He walked in with the calm, unhurried gait of someone entering a room they belong in. He came directly to our fire, pulled over the one empty camp chair we had set up. We always bring an extra. It's become a tradition, and sat down. He looked to be in his late 50s, maybe 60. Weathered face, thick gray stubble, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt, work boots caked with dried mud. No pack, no gear, no flashlight, which is the thing that got me immediately because we were 6 miles from the nearest road and it was 11 at night and this man had no light source whatsoever. His clothes were dry. It had rained steadily from about noon until 8 that evening. His clothes were dry. All 5 of us just stared at him. That moment of total social paralysis, where your brain is cycling through explanations so fast it can't land on anything useful. Kevin recovered first. Kevin is that guy. Easygoing, friendly, always the one to break tension. He leaned forward and said, "Hey man, you doing all right? You need some help?" The man looked at Kevin, then slowly looked at each of us in turn, then looked back at the fire. Then he said, "I've been watching you boys for a while. Looks like you're having a good time." The way he said it, not aggressive, not threatening, just completely matter of fact. Like it was a normal thing to say. Like he was a neighbor commenting on a barbecue. That's what made it so deeply wrong. A menacing stranger you can react to. This man was something else entirely. Something our brains didn't have a ready category for. Nobody spoke for a moment. Then Marcus asked where he'd come from. The man nodded toward the dark tree line behind him. Back that way. Kevin asked if he needed food, water, help navigating back to the trailhead. The man shook his head slowly to each offer. He just sat there, watching the fire. Every few minutes, he'd make a small, ordinary comment. "Good fire. Nice night for it. You boys from downstate?" We answered him. I don't know why we answered him. I think we were all operating on a kind of autopilot social politeness that kicks in when your brain can't process what it's actually seeing. We told him yes, Ann Arbor. He nodded like that was satisfying information and went back to watching the fire. 20 minutes. He sat with us for 20 minutes. Then he put his hands on his knees, pushed himself up from the chair, and said, "Enjoy the rest of your trip." And he walked back toward the tree line. We watched him go. The firelight reached maybe 15, 20 feet into the trees. We watched him walk into that light, into the edge of the dark, and then he was gone. No flashlight coming on, no sound of footsteps in the undergrowth. Within about 10 seconds of entering those trees, there was simply nothing. No sound, no movement, no light. Silence. None of us slept. We kept that fire going all night, fed it constantly, kept the light as wide as we could. We talked a little, but mostly just sat there, watching the tree line. Around 3 in the morning, Drew went to refill his water and came back quickly, quietly, and told me to come look at something. He walked me to the edge of camp, to the spot where the man had first appeared. In the soft ground, in the beam of Drew's headlamp, 2 boot prints. The same heavy work boots, the same deep tread, facing our camp. Just 2, perfectly placed, like someone standing and watching. No prints leading up to them, no prints leaving, no trail of approach, no trail of departure. Just those 2 boot prints in the mud, oriented toward our fire at the edge of our camp. Like he'd appeared there. Like that's where he always stood. We reported it to a ranger at the permit station on the way out Saturday morning. I described the man. Approximate age, clothes, the boots, the fact that he had no gear and no light. The ranger listened to the whole thing. He didn't write anything down. When I finished, he looked at me and said, "Did he threaten you in any way? Touch anything? Take anything?" I said no to all of it. He nodded and said, "Okay, just okay." Like that was the end of it. I asked if there had been other incidents in that area, other reports of someone matching that description. The ranger looked past me at the parking lot for a moment. Then he looked back. Like I said, as long as nothing was taken and nobody was hurt, there's not much of a report to file. He walked back to his station. Kevin has nightmares about the boot prints, about the fact that they had no origin, about the fact that we have no explanation for that. Not a real one, not one that holds up when you actually think it through. I think about what the man said when he first sat down. "I've been watching you boys for a while." He said it like a compliment, like he was happy for us. That's the part I can't shake. Not that he was there, not that he disappeared, that he was glad we were having a good time.